Hold on, you're saying Shaggy fucked Scooby.
I'm just saying that Shaggy definitely tried to fuck that dog. Or at the very least, he was constantly jacking off with Scooby in the room.
Yeah, no.
It's called puberty, okay? Well, I guess we should probably go ahead and start recording. So, hey everyone, I'm Kelton.
And I'm Devon.
And let's talk about Scoob.
Whoa. Shaggy and Scooby were taken?
Yeah. This blue light came down from the sky and beamed them up.
I can't breathe.
I have to assume that if they were with their friends, they wouldn't have been kidnapped.
Okay, can you skip the emotional punishment?
Garbage in, garbage out.
Scooby-Dooby don't see this movie. That took me more takes than I think it was supposed to. Devon, do you have a better one? Go for it. Give the people what they want.
Scooby-Dooby don't watch this movie.
Okay, that's the one that we're going with here. We're going with different O sounds, changing up right in the middle. It's just gonna sound like I did a bad editing job smashing together two things. This movie was a slog, but before we get too far into it, just a couple of announcements right up top. As you know, Garbage in, Garbage out, we are trying to be everywhere at once, at all places, doing all things. So please follow us on Twitter and Letterboxd if you want our thoughts on movies, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube, because not only are we posting the actual episodes up there, I'm also just doing video shit posts that either I find or that I make and then do random dumb shit edits on, and that's always cool. And then also go ahead and join our Discord for Monday movie nights. We're going to actually start using the Gigo Discord instead of the PDG one, probably at the beginning of June, just so that way then we can stop annoying those people. We're not being kicked out. We are being politely asked to leave, and there's a difference here, or so I've been told at various restaurants.
But enough of that. Go get your Scoob sandwiches and sit down and have a listen.
I guess right off the top, if I were to give my basic overarching thoughts on this, is that Scoob is a fun enough movie. It attracts younger viewers and maybe like all those like weird hardcore Scooby-Doo fans, if such a thing fucking exists. He looks too much like a dog, I guess, to be like an icon among the furry community. But I guess if Scooby-Doo is your kink, then yeah, sure, go watch Scooby-Doo. But this movie, I really didn't like how it abandoned the show's fun teen detective format and decided to just overpack the movie with a whole bunch of cameos from other Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters, as well as trying to just make this franchise starter. It just seemed like it was cobbled together based off of what every studio executive thought was popular in the minds of an 8-year-old. It just didn't come together as a cohesive unit. And I think that's why the weighted score critics gave this movie was a 4.8 and audiences gave it a 6.1, meaning no one really was falling in love with this movie by any means, but no one especially hated it. It's just bland and dull and focused grouped to seem appealing. So it's very safe.
Among both parties, young and very, very old.
It just didn't seem like a movie that a lot of people felt real passion for. It seemed like this was just a product that was going to get churned out eventually, and it might as well have been churned out now.
It felt like almost like a prequel movie or some shit. Like
the origin story.
Like, oh, here's how it all went down the first time. And then, on to our other wacky adventures. Woohoo!
It did feel that way, because it felt like this movie was trying to kick off something new, while at the same time thinking that its fans would recognize all of the callbacks and all of the different references points to it. And I don't think anyone's actually that passionate about Scooby-Doo. Again, I don't think people are harboring bad feelings towards Scooby-Doo. I just don't think that there's that much of a fan base.
I mean, I feel like the actual TV show is episodic and there's no overarching storyline. They don't really call back to anything unless, there's tiny little things that I'm not seeing. I don't know.
Fred getting Vietnam flashbacks wouldn't quite work, I guess, in the Scooby-Doo world. Like, zoinks, man, we were just kids. That's Shaggy, whatever. Point being.
So how we get here? What's the background? How'd they decide to make this forsaken, cursed objects?
Well, plans for a new Scooby-Doo movie began in 2014 when Warner Brothers decided that they just wanted to do something. And so they had bounced around ideas with a couple different directors and a couple different scripts. And in 2016, at a Comic-Con type event, they announced plans for a movie called Scoob, Scoob, all being initials for something about the mystery machine gang working for a larger organization. That kind of all fell by the wayside in general, but the core premise of this movie being a thing that would lead to a larger cinematic universe was what they pitched. So the Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe, HBCU, I guess, is what they were really hoping to roll with.
Hubka.
the Hubcap universe. And the original director they had for it, Dak Shepard, decided to back out, obviously because it was evolving into something much bigger and much more different than a normal Scooby-Doo type of movie. So the animation director got promoted to the regular director in 2018-2019. And then they found a animation studio called Real FX in March of 2019 to go ahead and work on their film. Now, Real FX had done several other films, and go ahead and let me know whether you had heard of any of these, okay? They did Rock Dog.
No.
Sherlock Gnomes.
Yes.
Free Birds.
I'm not sure, honestly.
And Ugly Dolls.
Cassidy watches it.
Cassidy watches Ugly Dolls?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, good for her. Good for her.
There's like a whole series.
They made an Ugly Dolls series?
Yeah, like on either YouTube or Hulu, I guess.
Are you sure it's a series and it's not just pirated clips from the movie that they...
No.
I'm just glad we're on top of what our daughter is consuming on YouTube. So, this movie, not Ugly Dolls, but instead Scoob, had, I believe, 3 or 4 credited writers and 4 or 5 story by credits. It had 3 directors rumored all at once. It just kind of seemed like this mishmash thing. It was clearly a studio project that other people were kind of falling under the umbrella of. And so it just became something that was market tested. They went for something that was incredibly safe. And so I know we're going to be chewing into it a little bit more later, but the people that get irate at this film, I think they need to find something else to channel their rage into, because it's like getting angry at the color beige or mayonnaise as a food, or that Tootsie Slide by Drake song that's been all over the charts, or at least as of this recording it was. I mean, it's just not worth the effort to get mad at it. Like, okay, it's big, it's popular, it's disposable. No one's going to remember it in 3 weeks or as they leave the theater.
Theaters? Like, you think people are going to leave theaters watching this movie?
Okay, it's not the best choice of words, especially considering this whole, like, COVID-19 pandemic that the world has thrown itself into. But, okay, it's not theaters, home video rentals, leaving their living rooms. It's not the same vibe or way with words that is going on.
I don't think we should be encouraging people to leave their house.
No, go ahead. Leave their house so that way then they can watch Scoob. Kill the elderly so that way then you can, say jinkies all over their grave. Something. Jesus God.
Take over Congress and burn the world.
Trolls World Tour is the movie that apparently broke the movie industry as we know it. So if Scoob is the thing that ends up culling all of the old people and the infirm from this earth, Jesus. The 4 horsemen of
2020.
It's just consumerism, man. It's so fucking bad. Because, like, no animated movie that had been released in May is guaranteed to be a surefire hit or a good thing. So Scoob was already kind of on the fence. And I think that it was never really about the Scoob movie itself. They just kind of wanted to make the movie so that then they could push the toys, so they could push the TV show, so they could push the other movies that they wanted to do, so they could push those toys and those TV shows. I mean, this was a thing where, if it broke even, it wouldn't really matter because of all of the other ways they have to make money off of this thing.
No. It's a kumbaya movie to connect the older generation of, like, Boomerang and whatever to the millennials who only understand, like, Tinder references.
Put Boomer into Boomerang. God. This thing isn't something that I would recommend to anyone.
Well, I mean, like, it's the 35 and older, generation going through the flashbacks and whatever, like, blast from the past with all the characters and whatever.
You're familiar that Scooby-Doo has been around since 1969, right?
I'm saying the kids that watched it. Like, my dad watched it.
Yeah. Okay. Is your dad 35?
No, my dad is 47.
Okay. Yeah.
48?
Just trying to help out for the people at home. They're trying to gauge how old you are. Because you're talking about, all those old people that are 35. Yeah, they'll be the ones that understand it. Okay, well, my dad is over a decade older than that. But still,
Well, you're there.
I'm not 35.
You're 30.
I'm 27. What are you talking about?
Round up.
That is some, legit pedophile logic. 15? Close enough. I'll round you up into the next age bracket. Yeah. Let's go watch Scooby-Doo. About to introduce you to my Dick Dastardly. But let's do this. Christ.
Oh, no.
Point being is that there was nothing really with this movie that was going to be guaranteed. So no one knew whether or not the movie was going to make money at the box office. So this movie made a lot of sense to just go ahead and release on video on demand anyway. It was a big risk, but I don't think it's as big a risk as people are crediting now the movie for doing, now that it's dominated all of the video on demand and streaming services. Like, it's number one across the board on Fandango and Amazon Prime and iTunes and everywhere else. And since a studio gets a much larger percentage of the proceeds from those versus from movie theaters, this could actually be a much more profitable venture for the studio than if they had released it traditionally anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next movie is also turned into this weird, bizarre event-like thing. Because, I mean, they went all out with this once they decided it was going to be released on home video. We had seen trailers for it, clips for it. They were doing like a special Scooby-Doo movie night.
They did a Scoob dance on TikTok, apparently. They also did a trailer on TikTok. It was, they're trying so hard. But I mean, I guess they have the money since they're not sending it to movie theaters. So why not just amp up marketing?
This really does make it turn into like the Tootsie Slide of movies, doesn't it? It's all geared for TikTok. Get the youths involved. Let's get all those 8-year-olds with the precious movie references of what, your 47-year-old dad? Yeah, this makes sense. Okay, the movie clearly meant to succeed wildly beyond everyone's hopes and dreams.
Hey, I didn't say that they did what they were trying to do. I didn't say they made it there. I said they tried to do a kumbaya and it didn't reach either platform. Also, with movie theaters, do you think they're gonna become like the premiere areas if they're turning into events anyway? Like, like the next Star Wars movie coming out, like they'll just rent out every theater and you'll have like lines and whatever.
Well, I think that is kind of what's already happening. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the next step in that evolution point, is that the era of the mid-budget movie no longer exists. Like even, 20 years ago or so, a film that had a budget of like $60 million, if it made $100 million, that would be considered a very good movie. Now things are so micro-budgeted or macro-budgeted to the point of where it needs to be an event film where it has a $200+ million budget plus another $150 million in marketing thrown at it to turn it into this $1 billion franchise idea. Did you have any thoughts on this, Devon?
I was gonna say, or it gets turned into an indie movie that never gets seen. by the light of day until like 200 years later. And then everybody's like, ooh, this was actually pretty good. Did you see this?
And I think that might be the case. I really don't think that indie movies, though, would actually be surviving in movie theaters as much as I think it would be all like the awards bait stuff. So if it's an indie film, but it's Oscar bait, you know, a period piece with a whole bunch of actors doing British accents and talking about like how hard it is to be like the first gay piano player in the Scottish Highlands or something. Like that seems like an Oscar bait kind of movie. Like sad white people, lots of dreary and drabness. But it has a budget of $2 million. It then has like a $30 million awards campaign push. And then when it makes like $70 million overall, people applaud it for being, so groundbreaking and how moving versus just being a popcorn flick.
I mean, the bait we would totally take and use on our next podcast.
We would definitely go with the popcorn movie, I hope. I don't think like gay...
I meant the indie bait.
Yeah, that's the next movie you want to see? The gay pianist of the Scottish Highlands? In a world full of bagpipes, one man found his own key. Ding! Okay, so before we dive too much into the plot breakdown of this, what did you think about the movie, Devon? Like, what was your big thought about it? Either in the form of a rating or just kind of what your main takeaway was. What I feel like I've been dominating the conversation a bit, so I'm going to turn the spotlight over to you.
It feels like they just really wanted to make a superhero movie, but they were like, all right, well, how can we get like older people and also bring back a whole line of old ass cartoons that have already been done, but you know, we do sequels for other shit, so why not TV shows that no one would remember? Fuck.
I think the we might as well philosophy is a good way to sum this movie up as to how it got brought about.
This is the definition of cherry picking. Like, I want a little bit of this, but I want a lot of this, but I want some of this, and maybe that guy.
It's always a fun time.
And we have to have big name actors, because who else is going to watch this movie unless their favorite High School Musical man is in it?
So let's go ahead and dive into this plot for a little bit. We got the first half of the show down, so let's take a look here. Let's do a plot breakdown. Where do we start, Devon?
We start in Venice, California, with Shaggy and Scooby meeting when they're kids.
And Shaggy is voiced by the same kid that also voices young Sheldon, which I thought was the most interesting fact about him until I realized that he's also the grandchild of the person who was the U.S. Secretary of State when 9/11 happened, which that just really seems weird that this guy, he's one of the main people in that war room when the towers fell, and then like 6 years later he's like, oh well, I'm grandpa. Then another 10 years after that, okay, well, my grandson's saying bazinga a whole bunch. Great. This is where I thought I would be in life.
So Shaggy is the most depressed motherfucker and has no friends and 3 songs on his phone, which he has an iPhone.
The sense of time is weird because they do a very, I was gonna say good, but it's heavy-handed at best job of letting everyone know like it's the present day, and then because we're seeing them all as kids before we do a time jump. And so I don't know if that means that the time jump occurs and they're in the future or this was just 10 years in the past. Because, I mean, there were smartphones 10 years ago, but I don't think that there were streaming services 10 years ago, right?
Was there podcasts 10 years ago?
Yes.
Because he listens.
There have always
Okay.
been podcasts.
All right. I
Always
am
have
new
been,
to
always
this.
will be.
I am new to this.
Till the end of time. There will be podcasts. Anyway.
He also has Funko Pops in his room.
Okay, he's a lame kid. We understand.
I'm just saying the sense of time.
Yeah,
like,
'cause
don't
Funko
know.
Pops have been around a while too. Like, unfortunately, they have been a
10
cultural
years?
mainstay. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. So Shaggy has no friends, and that's the moral of the story. But he meets Scooby and names him Scooby Dooby Doo after some snacks in front of him. So creative.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Why not? Why the fuck not? I guess. By the way, Funko Pops were founded in 1998, 22 years ago.
Holy fuck!
Yeah. You enjoying that realization?
I was one.
Allegedly, if you're not lying about your age. So, this opening scene I actually thought was pretty fun and good and heartwarming in its own way, just because it was settling on them as being kids. And maybe that's because based on the trajectory that the movie takes afterwards, it's making me feel better about the beginning of the movie than I felt at the end. But anyways, they're all getting ready for a Halloween night, right? They're about to go trick-or-treating, and then Shaggy dresses up as Blue Falcon, who's a superhero, and Scooby dresses up as
Dynamut.
There we go. And then they go trick-or-treating.
Before they go trick-or-treating, Shaggy gives Scooby his collar that we all know. And that's where it's pretty much implied that they have fucked.
Or they're definitely going to. It's a weird layer that they're adding, that it's kind of like they're in a relationship with each other. And it's meant to be played for laughs, but it is kind of odd. So they go out trick-or-treating. They get their candy stolen by some bullies. And then the candy then gets thrown into a house, and they are despondent. That's when we run across the other members of the gang, Fred, Daphne, and Velma, who are saying, oh, well, we're going to go ahead and get your candy back. And so they decide to bust into the house. And we kind of see the origins of kind of what their personality types are. Velma's the smart one. Fred is the
knight in shining armor, literally.
Yeah. And Shaggy is nervous, and then Scooby is just clumsy, and Daphne is there, I think.
She immediately gets chased, just like old times.
Some things never change. Don't mess with a good formula. I thought the what would have been more interesting to me as a framing device would be is if it was set in the modern era at the beginning, and then a whole bunch of cases tied back to their earliest cases. And so we're seeing them as kids and as adults simultaneously, bouncing back and forth. And then I just realized that it's kind of the plot of the 2002 Scooby-Doo movie. Then that's also like what the plot of the It TV show with Tim Curry was. And then also is just kind of like what True Detective has done several times. And so it's a trope, but the thing I realized is, all of those are mystery movies, though. And this isn't an actual mystery movie, because the kids find out that the spooky house is actually a front for this guy who's stealing a whole bunch of electronics, and so they bust him. And that's the last that we really get of like them as a legit mystery solving group.
Yeah, I mean, which is very sad and not on par with actual Scooby-Doo. They really just wanted to do superheroes. So they all become friends immediately, bind against health bullies. Woohoo. Then we fall into the montage of them aging and going through pretty much shot-by-shot replica of the opening credits of 1969 Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
And I actually really like this. I thought that it was paying homage to the TV show. I thought that, this is cool. The opening scenes and the origin, we got that out of the way. I wonder what mystery we're going to have next. I wonder what is going to be the case that they're going to solve.
Then we jump to the present day. Fred hires Simon Cowell as business consultant, who tells them Shaggy and Scooby are dead weight, and they don't need to help the team.
Okay, so two things here. This movie was clearly coming from 2014, because what kid is aware of who Simon Cowell is? Really, I truly don't know. That seems like a joke for the parents who grew up watching American Idol, and not even like the X Factor show that then he was doing. Like it just seems incredibly, incredibly dated. Then when I was doing research for this film, it turns out that it wasn't going to be Simon Cowell at the beginning anyway. It was going to be like some generic knockoff type. It was going to be a business agent named Epstein. Yeah, so for obvious reasons, they couldn't do this. This really is sounding a bit like a cursed project It's in development hell for so long. You finally get a script. It comes out. It's Epstein. Oh God. Okay, I guess we can't use Epstein for obvious reasons. Simon Cowell. Sure, why not? Let's have him be the one who splits up the group so that the movie can happen.
Like the devil he is.
Happen with One Direction. It can happen with the Mystery Machine Gang, which I just called them Scooby-Doo, and the gang, or the Scooby-Doo crew. I didn't realize that their actual title was the Mystery Machine Gang.
What?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So Shaggy and Scooby storm off to go bowling. Apparently that's where they are always at, hanging out, doing bowling.
Yeah, because, of course, that normal thing that is super relatable with all the kids. Going bowling when you get frustrated with your work colleagues. God, it's such an old movie. Also, why the fuck did they decide to make them good at bowling? How is that is that a modern thing? I don't remember them being good at bowling. Watch them actually be, according to the Scooby-Doo lore, they're actually amazing at bowling. You see in these 9 made-for-TV episodes. Fucking stupid. Okay, so they're bowling. They're doing good. And then...
The bowling pin has eyes, Raggy.
I don't think we're supposed to use that word anymore, Devon.
Raggy? What?
No, go ahead.
So we see eyeballs on the bowling pin, and then on the bowling balls, and then they transform into tiny, killer, cute as fuck robots.
Well, not at the beginning. They turn into scorpions with chainsaws, and then they turn into super adorable robots that are definitely just marketing opportunities.
I thought I mentioned the death robots. Anyway, I'm not hypnotized. And then Scooby and Shaggy get abducted by a huge ship, which turns out to be IKEA. Just kidding. It's the Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's IKEA. Haha. Get that, kids? That joke that children understand of what an IKEA is?
Because every child has been in IKEA, I don't think I've been in an IKEA.
Okay, well, that speaks more on you than anything else.
Shut up.
So, okay. So tell us a little bit about Blue Falcon. Who is Blue Falcon? So who is Blue Falcon in this universe?
Blue Falcon is a superhero that is a part of Scooby-Doo universe, apparently, with his trusty mutt, Dino Mutt.
And then, I guess, because, of course, this is a kid's movie, what's the twist they did to this generic knockoff-sounding superhero?
They made it his son.
And it's Mark Wahlberg who's the voice, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
And he was just basically deciding to take up the mantle after his dad died. So pretty much after this point in the movie, it just becomes a Blue Falcon movie featuring Scooby and Shaggy.
His dad didn't die. His dad is in retirement in some island thing.
Exactly what a burnout kid who killed his dad would say. That's, yeah, see? He killed his dad to get the suit so that way then he could impress people.
He didn't even know how to use the suit. Useless. Alright, so Brian is a loudmouth who makes a ton of mistakes, is a coward, but learns to be a hero in a very MCU I'm so sorry. I mean DC way.
Dinobot's also played by Ken Jeong, and he's meant to be kind of like the odd couple pairing, if you will. So they have like a weird rapport with each other. Like it felt like
it's a very Shaggy Velma vibe coming from them. Like Velma Dino Mutt is, always like, come on, let's go, you can do it. Like, come on. And Shaggy or Brian is like, I'm good.
And the justification that they have for why they're smashing these two action figures next to each other is that Blue Falcon needs Scooby because the villain of the film, Dick Dastardly, is looking for him because Dastardly is trying to get a whole bunch of treasure over in Greece, and he needs the descendant of Alexander the Great's dog, and it turns out that Scooby is him somehow. I don't know. It gets really weird. Like there's a lot of other implications here that Scooby is the only dog left that's the descendant of this dog. Like, how the fuck does that work? How does inbreeding work? I don't just.
I was gonna say, how do you keep that line pure?
Yeah, that's I got some questions involving Scooby-Doo's family tree.
All the Death Eaters want to know.
Oh, that was a Harry Potter reference?
Yes.
Never do that again.
Just trying.
Trying to what?
The youths.
The youths?
I can't say Nazis.
How?
Keeping the line pure or whatever.
Yeah. What?
Saying.
So you just
Death
want?
Eaters want a pure magic line.
No, I'm familiar with what their goal is. My problem is just like Harry Potter as a
Oh my God.
as a reference point. Just like, are we also gonna figure out like which household like each of the Scooby-Doo characters fall into? Because I think that would be like really fun.
I'm 23. Leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly. You're 23. Because what? I mean, they have all the different houses. There's like the eagle, the
Gryffindor.
okay, whatever. The snake, the Jigglypuff, the
Badger.
okay, whatever. Point is,
What?
I could not care less about Harry Potter.
Well,
Just
fuck you. A lot of other people feel differently.
and good on them. That's fantastic. Like a lot of people out there in this world, really love Scooby-Doo too. And so I'm sure like
Lies.
yeah, as I can find their very smooth little baby brains and we can start talking about how friendship is magic and all that other fucking bullshit
Oh,
that
God.
happens. So, the main crux of the film is that Dick Dastardly is looking for the 3 skulls of Cerberus, and they're actually giant dog skulls, right? And so, Dastardly's assistant, who's named Muttley and is from Wacky Races, is implied to be dead most of the movie, but it turns out he's actually trapped inside the portal from the last time that they tried to get in there. It's just really complicated, and it also really made me think how much I would enjoy a Muttley and Dastardly TV show if it was them just trying to do like Wacky Races. Like on the Discord in our movie nights, I had talked about how I wanted to see Wacky Races, but it's Days of Thunder. I would also settle for if it's Dick Dastardly and Muttley, and they're doing like a Death Race 2000 kind of vibe. Like they have to get across the finish line by any means necessary.
Blue Falcon then turns Scooby into a superhero with a costume. Why? Don't know.
I mean, we know why. It's so that way then they can sell a Scooby-Doo merch toy that has him dressed as a superhero.
I meant why, plot point wise, but whatever.
I think it's
so he could break Shaggy's heart by taking off his collar. Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, I mean that's really what they wanted to do. Also, like while we're talking about their superhero costume, there was a joke that happened a little bit earlier in the film when Shaggy and Blue Falcon are pinned down because Dastardly is chasing them or whatever, and Shaggy's talking about like dropping a flash bomb or it's something.
Falcon bomb.
Falcon bomb. Sure, great. And he's like, "Oh, you gotta drop an F bomb," and Blue Falcon's like, "Hey, let's keep this PG." Yeah, it's a good joke out there. Again, movie for kids and the parents that are forced to watch it with them. But there was a deleted scene that I actually kind of laughed at, but maybe that's just because I was reading it and picturing it in my head. But it's where Blue Falcon is giving Scooby a bag of dynamite that he's calling his D bag, and then it's stored in the logo of the A, and so it's in the A hole. So he's trying to put the D bag into the A hole. Yeah. That's a better joke than, oh, we don't want to drop too many F-bombs here. Haha, kids movie. Like, you don't deserve to break the fourth wall like that. Let's not.
My teenage boy brain. Yeah, let's go, Scoob.
What's, like, teenagers can't possibly like this movie, right? Like, they would be thinking that this is some of the most, like, milquetoast shit in the world. Like, there's no edge to this. Like, the only teenagers watching this are the ones that are having to, like, babysit at someone else's house.
Mormons.
What if I told you that there are other people who do babysitting other than Mormons? But I
meant, like, as an extracurricular activity. Like, they would watch this.
Hold on. You're saying that Mormons babysit, like, as an extracurricular activity? Like, oh, okay, and what were your electives in school? Oh, well, like, I did some art, I did some sculpting, I learned to code. Of course, babysitting. Of course, yes.
I mean...
It's part of the core curriculum. Me and my 19 brothers and sisters.
It pretty much was, and then you got, like, shuffled off to every family in the ward.
That's, oof. So, yeah. I guess speaking of teenagers, what are Fred, Velma, and Daphne up to?
They are in Dick Dastardly's giant ship after being taken off the open road by a hot cop lady who, jinkies, it was Dick Dastardly in a giant bodysuit mask.
I mean, Fred really is about to begin a truly magical voyage of self-discovery. Just find some things out about himself, and I wish him the best on this journey.
He was so confused, poor little boy. Everyone eventually meets up at the location of the third skull, called Messick Mountain, and they run into Captain Caveman,
voiced by Tracy Morgan,
who is guarding it. After a brief fight, Dastardly manages to destroy the Falcon Fury, damage the Mystery Machine, and kidnap Scooby, dressed as Fred.
He gets so much shit done in, like, the span of 30 seconds. I mean, he just absolutely gets as much done as the plot needs him to get done as we are rushing towards the third act. So I felt like I could really see the studio notes that were taking place while all of this was happening, about trying to get all the pieces set so that way then the set pieces can occur. And the thing that I kept on thinking about was how far removed we are from the classic Scooby-Doo mystery stories. That there's no investigation. We are literally headed towards a superhero movie third act with a sky beam that is taking place. It's just more of the fucking same, and it's seemingly so generic it doesn't have an edge to it. It's quirky, but it's quirky in the thinking that liking Harry Potter as a personality trait, kind of quirky, as opposed to being genuinely interesting.
Also, I think that they use Shaggy as like, oh, we're going to put him in like a smarter position in this scene and then like a dumbass version in this scene.
Yeah, characters are as smart or as cowardly or as violent or as inept as the script needs them to be.
So there's a scene where he's like psychology, like fucking spatting off at Brian, Blue Falcon. And then in like the next scene that he's in majorly with, just him and another character, it's Dick Dastardly as Fred. And he's like, oh, where are Velma and Daphne? And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. And he goes, okay. Like, no, you'd be like, what happened to them? Like, are they dead? Like, what?
What did you do with my friends? Why? What?
Yeah.
Well, but this is clearly a mask. I'm not sexually attracted to you the way I'm normally sexually attracted to Fred. Something is happening here.
Doesn't question how they got how Fred by himself got a giant van to the middle of the earth. Like,
okay, that wasn't even my main question. Dick Dastardly is able to build skin suits out of teenagers. Like, what else is Dick Dastardly using this technology for? Like, Dick Dastardly has some wild tales I am absolutely sure of to see what he can do. What do you think he forces Muttley to dress up as when they're alone together with their bizarre relationship?
Just forming the little robots into a suit, like, now do this for me. Yes, like that.
Jesus God.
Twirls mustache.
What if Voltron was a sex slave seems to be the moment of the hour. Dear God. Okay, so let's keep pushing through here, though.
So after being stranded in Middle-earth, they managed to track down Dastardly to Athens, where things have become a shit show. Dastardly has used Scooby to open the portal, so Cerberus is loose and causing fucking chaos.
This was one of the most superhero-fied scenes that was taking place. That there's a monster attacking the city, and oh man, what's the gang gonna do about it? It's not Scooby-Doo. This is the Blue Falcon show. And granted, it ends up being like some Kingdom Hearts type bullshit that helps, set the stage for everything. But they have to rely on bowling balls or... they use like the robots who mutiny against Dastardly.
They've only revolted against Dastardly because they've come to cult of underneath Daphne because she is mother now.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely stealing pieces of her hair and then worshiping it like when she's not around. Like they're
using the fucking like technology Dastardly has to make another version of her. Just yes, shrine.
Christ, oh god, the cult of Daphne. I don't even want to think about that.
I just want to say that this is like probably the best scene in the movie, just like looks wise. Because they turned, like, bare bones Athens into, like, this gorgeous fucking temple. And I was like, oh, yeah. As soon as it disappears, it is... You realize how barren and, like, wastelandish it is. And you're like, oh, well, that sucks. Why would I want to go there? Sadly.
I mean, like, he might be a villain, but he did really revitalize an entire area. So we got to take some of the good with the bad here. Cerberus is knocking over and destroying something that's already, in reality, in ruins. So I'm not quite sure what real damage he ended up doing. They? It's one body, three heads. What's the...
Them?
What are Cerberus's pronouns? Let's figure this out. This won't offend anyone. Okay. God.
3 hours later.
Yeah, just a loud static noise. Realizing the error of my ways, I'd like to issue a formal apology to any members of the canine community who might have been offended by this.
They each get one. The one on the left is a she, the one on the right is a he, and then the one in the middle is a they.
Woke icon, Cerberus. So where are we in the film?
Velma figures out, oh, well, one of you has to stay in there and one of you has to stay out here. But it can only be you two because you're the only best friends here. I mean, with Scooby because he's the key.
How great would that have been, by the way, if it was like, all right, Scooby and your best friend. Yeah, it's the one who has to make the sacrifice. And Shaggy's like, I'm willing to do it. And Scooby's getting really nervous. And it's just like, what's wrong, Scoob? It's just like... well, I mean, Velma's actually my best friend. Like, you're like my roommate, dude. I feel like we've drifted apart a little bit.
Daphne, she gives me snacks.
Yeah, that's right. Clearly, she's the one we should all be following. She is a god now, according to these robots.
Rock'em, suck'em robots.
No. You do not get to put that image in my head. Dear God. Picture like the little like arms, but they're trying to fight you off as you force yourself onto the robot. That just...
That's not what I was picturing. I was just picturing the little robots with the vacuum heads, but okay.
Sure.
So Shaggy makes the sacrifice and gets stuck in the vault.
Yay! Sacrifice. He's totally dead. This is a kid's movie. All right, credits time. All right, we can roll. It'll be fine. No. He comes back through the power of friendship or some bullshit. Like, I truly don't understand. Like, a statue magically appears. He's at the base of the statue inside. They like, push on the inscription, and he pops out. And they're like, whoa, I guess friendship really did save the day.
They read the inscription, and then they're like, you try it, Scooby. He was your best friend.
Shaggy has somehow... transcended the space-time continuum and is not absolutely insane after having spent however many thousands of years locked inside to arrive at that moment. Although I'm not even sure that that's how it worked because the whole statue disappeared right after Shaggy got kicked out. So, you know what? I don't even know anymore. Like, the whole movie has started to unravel and fall apart. Somehow, Dick Dastardly has been caught by Blue Falcon and Dynamite, and so the Mystery Incorporated gang, Mystery Machine Gang, I don't know, like Scooby-Doo crew, fuck it, goddamn, I can't decide on a name. They decide to unmask him, and want to guess who it is, Devon?
It's Jeffrey Epstein. Oh wait, no. It's Simon Cowell. Sorry.
Yeah, it's an obvious fake out. So they then unmask him again, and then it's Dick Dastardly. Haha, no one ever does the double fake out except for that meme that's already so old about people doing a double fake out with the mask. Then, wraps up stupidly. I'm not even gonna bother getting into it. This movie just makes me so mad. I know I said that the people that get so mad at this movie, it's like getting mad at the color beige, but by God, they found a way for me to get mad at the color beige. Fuck you and your Tootsie Slide kind of movie. Jesus.
I mean, to be fair, Tootsie Slide is just stupid. So.
Okay, so final question here. Could they have done anything to make this movie a 10 out of 10 in your mind, Devon?
I mean, I think the only way that they could fix it, make it 10 out of 10, is to do a full rewrite. Like, do it for 2020. Like, put in some references there. Like, fucking bring it to the future. Like, they are present day, like, adults with us or whatever. Because it was all old references. Like, not even, like, old references, tropey references. It was just, like, old, okay, yeah, you're behind, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ties in with what you're saying. I really think a rewrite is what's important. I think instead of having a movie that then you spin off into 3 different movies, that you just do those 3 different movies first. That you do a True Detective thematic style Scooby-Doo movie, and then you do a Days of Thunder style wacky races movie. Then you do a stupid Blue Falcon and like his issues with his dad kind of superhero movie. Like you just do those 3, then you have them all collide together. This movie, I forget who said it, but like they were trying to make this both the Iron Man and the Avengers of their respective universe in a 90-minute kids movie, and that's just impossible. It's too many studio notes, it's too many suits, not enough creatives.
They tried to Avengers it, but they ended up just Justice Leaguing it.
Hey, it's Warner Brothers for a reason. Yeah, we did it. We finally got through Scoob. My God, yeah, it's wild. So what all do we have to plug?
Join us for Monday movie nights in the Discord so you can watch whatever we're going to be talking about with us and, hear our dang gone opinions.
Yeah. Then also be sure and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Gigo, Gigo podcast. And then also follow us on Letterboxd if you want our thoughts on movies and things. Also subscribe to us on YouTube, all that fun stuff. I don't know, something about commenting, ringing a bell. Fuck it, I don't know. Okay, let's just get out of here. I want to just watch literally anything else other than Scoob.
What about some Harry Potter?
Jesus Christ. Okay, maybe almost anything else other than Scoob.